What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Friday, April 5th, 2024. As always, I am PK alongside my co-host Phil for episode 273. Real quick on today's episode, we got a Bills trade to break down. I'm sure everybody out there has already heard about it. We got two Sabres games to go over. We got a new Bills draft game that I've been teasing for a while, but I'm finally going to debut it today. Try to stump Phil, and then we got a Bandits versus Mammoth breakdown, the last Friday game, I believe it is, of the regular season for the Buffalo Bandits. Really happy about that. But Phil, before we get started, I don't know if you know this, and I know we still can't see each other. We're still working on that. I sprained my wrist about a month ago and continued to play goalie in soccer, which was not the brightest decision. So I am in a splint for the next 3 to 4 weeks, pending it getting better. So I'm a wing down right now.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thanks.
Good to see that your age is catching up to you.
It's catching up, and my brain has not caught up yet.
That is unfortunate. The good news is, very oddly, I am wearing my Tough Mudder shirt today, so you do have enough time to heal up before then, it sounds like. So that is good news. So
that is the good news.
We're in the off season still for our Tough Mudder training, so you got some time to rest up and take care of that off season injury, and we'll get you back out there before it is time to roll. So you'll be all right.
Yeah, it's even more unfortunate because I'm right-handed and it's my right hand.
Ooh,
so literally, I'm having to adjust. This is going to get real graphic, and I don't really care. Have you ever went to the bathroom and had to finish up your bathroom experience using your non-dominant hand?
If you're actually asking me, I didn't know if that was rhetorical. I have not, but just trying to imagine the zippering and the buttoning. I feel like that would be complicated and very
that part's fine because I still got my fingers, but because this is like more like a leather cast, I don't want to use the tissue paper. If you get where I'm going with that situation. Boy. It's a whole new learning experience the last 24 hours. I've never been like fully injured. Like I've had 5 concussions, I've sprained ankles, like all that kind of stuff, but I've never had to kind of adjust my whole day-to-day lifestyle. So it would really stink if they gave me x-rays and everything. I'm just like, fingers crossed I don't have a break or a fracture, which I didn't think I would because, I played through it, and yes, it was very painful. Threw a tennis ball the other day for one of my dogs and bent over in pain because it hurt so bad. But I've never actually had anything like disrupting my everyday life. So that's got to stink for people that actually like break their hand and are out for months on end to, like, especially your dominant hand or your dominant foot or something like that. You'd have to adjust your whole lifestyle. I'm just sick of it 48 hours in.
Yeah, I think the only like major injuries I can remember, I don't think I've ever had a cast other than like a finger cast or something like that. I sprained my knee really badly in soccer. Did the same thing. I injured it playing goalie in the middle of a game and finished the game and continued to play and pretty much couldn't walk. I was pretty much just crouched down most of the game until the play got toward me again. Then I would stand up and kind of awkwardly limp around. It was weird. I don't know why I continued to play, and then it was in a tournament, so I suited up for the next game as well. I think I either pulled myself or got pulled because they were like, well, you look bad. So that one ended up being pretty bad and took me out for a while, but I didn't have a cast or anything, just couldn't really play soccer. And then when I was really young, playing Little League baseball, I took a pitch to the funny bone of my left elbow.
Nice.
And tried being tough for that too and walk it off, and literally just crumbled halfway down to first and just couldn't feel my entire arm. And that ended up swelling really badly. So couldn't bend my left arm for weeks because it just swelled up all over my elbow. I don't think anything was broken, but just couldn't use it at all. It was just a useless arm. But other than that, like you said, I've never had any of the major like cast up 4 to 6 weeks or 6 to 8 or, months on end with a cast. And I am thankful for that, for the exact reason you were talking about. Like, it seems miserable to have to really adjust your entire life to some kind of injury, whether it be sports or other, whatever you're doing, Bills fans jumping through tables, whatever it is. Yeah, sounds not great. So I hope you
Yeah.
heal up quick and careful with the
Thank you.
leather
Thank you.
around the bathroom.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You get it now. I didn't have to go full graphic, but I put the pieces together and you
PK
finished the
has
puzzle
ordered
for me.
himself a bidet is really the lesson of the story.
Oh man, I have been thinking about it. So if there's any bidet companies out there, I know one of them was trying to get the Bills stadium naming rights. That would be good.
Oh man, that would have
If
been
you
a
want to
good
sponsor
time.
the show and give me a free bidet, can help a lot of tricky situations I'm going through right now. So if you know anybody that has a spare bidet that's not used, I would like it. You can follow
Just
us
a
on
spare
Facebook,
bidet.
Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective and let me know there, or on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Or you can let me know there. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Phil's article dropped on Tuesday. My power rankings dropped on Thursday. Give those a read. Once again, buffalosportscollective.com. It's the name of the show. Shouldn't be hard to find. Look for the time breakdowns in the description of the show. This one will be a very jam-packed show, so let's get into it. Phil, out of left field, because it is baseball season, Bills send Stefon Diggs, a 2024 fifth, a 2024 sixth, to Houston for a 2025 second round pick, which belongs to Minnesota. They take on a $31.1 million dead cap hit because Diggs is not on the team. It would have originally been 27.8 because that was his cap hit, but an additional $3.3 million in additional cap space is now gone. Phil, they just extended him last offseason. In my opinion, this might be one of the worst moves Brandon Beane has done. And I'm not talking about the trade itself. I'm talking about the extension and then a year later send him out the door.
Yeah, it just I mean we've obviously talked about
We've
this a
gone back and
lot
forth. Yep.
off the show quite a bit, and the only thing I can think of, and I do agree with you overall, not a good move. And the big thing with Bean is that he seems to be, and you've talked about this in a good way, and especially this offseason, it really shows that he doesn't mind cutting the cord when it needs to
100%.
happen.
Yep.
And he doesn't, he's like, all these guys that have been here for a really long time are starting to get older. They're the core players. He's, accepts the fact that they need to go. And yes, it's a bummer for players like Tre'Davious White. He's been a huge part of the Bills, upstanding guy, great player and everything like that, had the injuries and it's just not going to work out for the Bills anymore. And he understands that and cuts them loose. And that's great. And this is one of those situations where if the relationship between the Bills and Diggs, which seems to be at the heart of all of this, just was truly that damaged and toxic, why are you extending him? And one of Bean's biggest strengths, like I just mentioned, was not being scared to cut ties with a player, if it's in the best interest for the Bills or whatever it may be. Like it doesn't matter how big of a player they necessarily are on the team. He's been okay being like, okay, this just isn't working out for our team and we need to move on. And then it seems like this has been kind of in the water for a couple of years now with things that have gone on. And for him to, like you mentioned, offer up the extension, a very big one, make him one of the highest paid wide receivers in the league. And then just a year later, cut him and trade him and eat $31 million to not be on the team this year just seems weird. Like you mentioned, I'm okay. I don't love the fact that you even had to give up a fifth and a sixth. I don't know how Diggs for a second straight up is not good enough. I know his cap hit is pretty big, but now Texas has gone over and done a ton of interesting things over there, and most of his money wasn't guaranteed anyway, so his cap hit really isn't terrible. But the compensation, like you mentioned, fine. Getting rid of him, okay. If that's, the way you need to go for the future of this team, he's getting up there in age, 31, 32. You don't want to pay him all this money in the future. That's fine. But the extension, and I completely agree with you, is what is confusing and also just ends up putting the Bills in a really, really bad spot, and something that Bean really hasn't done horribly for most of his moves. But this one, again, the trade, fine. The moving on from Diggs, fine. The extension before that, not good.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not going to talk about the move as much because there's so much content out there. There's so many shows and content creators that you can listen to. You kind of know all their stories by now within the last what 24 hours, 48 hours since this
I mean, it's
developed.
really
And
the only thing that's happened. So, I mean,
yeah,
everyone's
yeah,
writing an article. I mean, they're finally like, oh, we got some
100%.
information.
Yep.
Here we go. Like, everyone fired up their laptops and
Yeah, so basically, based on the press conference, I am going on the assumption that Diggs asked his way out, and I believe they did the best they could with the compensation. I'm not even worried about that because Keenan Allen was traded for a fourth, Amari Cooper a fifth. So, and I understand the Tyreek Hill situation; they got a first for him, and blah 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 blah. The situation with the wide receivers, I think he's going to address that. I was ticked off when I first saw it, going, how did you just trade one of the best wide receivers in the league for that? And then what is to follow up? But, I'm just going to lean and say that they have to do something in the wide receiver room. So I'm just going to wait and see what the wide receivers look like come September, like Brandon Beane told me to do. My biggest issue has been the last 24 to 48 hours is everybody that's now taking pot shots at Stefon Diggs for wanting out. And this isn't the first time a player has wanted out of Buffalo. This won't be the last time a player has wanted out of Buffalo. I don't personally think it's has much to do with the city of Buffalo, which seems to be everybody's gripe and uh, anger towards him. You have to remember, the last 5 years, he's been third in the league with 6,502 receiving yards and second in the league in receptions with 508. Yes, I think Josh Allen took him to another level, but I think Stefon Diggs took Josh Allen to another level. We'll see what Josh Allen looks like without his go-to number one wide receiver. We don't know what it looks like since 2019, so we'll see what it looks like. But my issue is everybody that's saying, "Hey, get out the door. We trust Bill's Mafia till the end." That's my kind of problem because of everything Stefon Diggs did to and for this organization. He came in. And yes, the culture was already changed, but a lot of the players in the locker room can attest to it and have said this on record that he took this from the culture being better to a winning mentality, that you have to win, that winning is all that truly matters. And did it rub some people the wrong way? Did his Twitter comments rub some people the wrong way? Did his beef in the offseason and quote unquote showing up Josh Allen, who, mind you, was stinking it up in the Bengals game, rub people the wrong way? Yeah. What wide receiver doesn't? That's what the position is. A lot of the wide receivers are outspoken. A lot of wide receivers want the football. Guess what? It's the one position in football where you have to rely on another guy to get the ball. So I get that. My issue is just everybody that's saying, hey, he wore out his time here. Hey, he was bad with the media, which, mind you, I'm technically part of the media. I don't give two farts if a player will talk to me because guess what? I can come on here and still talk about stuff. Obviously, there's people that want to listen. We might not be big mainstream, but I don't need a player to come on here and I don't need to interview a player to provide content for everybody. My biggest thing is it just seems like there's a lot of petty people out there that take exception to a player wanting to move on, regardless of what the reason is. I personally think he thinks he can't win here. I think he can't win a Super Bowl here. I've been on record saying I don't think the Buffalo Bills can win a Super Bowl with Sean McDermott as the head coach. I stand by that. I don't think they'll ever win with Sean McDermott as a head coach. I think he's a very good head coach. I think we gave him the MVP for last year's PSC awards because of how good he was. Like I said, my biggest issue is not the trade itself, not the dead cap, not what the wide receiver room looks right now. It's all like the petty pot shots that Stefon Diggs is taking on his way out that don't deserve to be said because of what he was able to do in his 4 years with the Buffalo Bills organization. It's like everybody forgot the last 4 years of being one of the best wide receivers that ever came through one Bills drive. And it's like, hey, don't let the door hit you on the way out. We're going to keep moving this engine. And he was one of the big reasons why that engine was running as smoothly as it was.
Yeah, I think we kind of mentioned this, that I think it's because he's just had a negative connotation kind of follow him from Minnesota to the Bills.
Which makes no sense to me.
Right. And then when he came to Buffalo, like you mentioned, he became a really good leader. And I think for the most part, even while he was here, Bills fans were like, no, we haven't seen any of that kind of attitude or anything. And all of a sudden, now that he's on his way out and wants out, everyone is, I feel like the angle just makes him the villain immediately because of some of the, like you said, the tweets occasionally and some of that kind of stuff. I think that stuff just gets brought up so much easier. Whereas like someone like a Poyer, like a Tre'Davious White, who's never really had much of a blemish. I think they get that, Mitch Morse gets that like huge thank you on his way out. And instead, which is what to me, and I think you as well, Diggs deserves. I think he deserves a thank you from Buffalo for, like you mentioned, taking them to where they did, taking them to all the AFC East championships. I really don't think the Bills would have been able to necessarily do it without him. And I, like you mentioned, I think Allen made Diggs better. I think Diggs made Allen better. So I do think he was a massive part of this team for the last 4 years. And I think he should be getting a thank you rather than get out of here kind of attitude from more of the fans. I know immediately when it happened, there was a lot of shock and also kind of disappointment of, well, what are we going to do without him? And then as more and more came out, it just seemed like all of a sudden they were like, okay, well, you can go kind of situation. And I don't know, it's just strange. I do think instead he should be thanked. I do think he made it very, what's the word?
Yeah,
Selfish
both sides
at
made
this
it
point.
much muddier than it had to be.
Oh, for sure. And I think at this point, he, like you mentioned, I think he just kind of turned inward about what's best for his career. And as a
Right.
player
Yep.
in the league and one of the better ones that's out there, you're allowed to do that. It's okay. And I think, like you mentioned, I don't think he sees the Bills, who are in a, pretty outspoken rebuild of trying to get their cap space back under control. The main core that's been here that helped build that culture is pretty much gone. So will they still be good? Sure. But he didn't feel that they were a Super Bowl team. And now even looked like what he was, which you and I do not understand necessarily why he's doing this. But if you look at what he did with Houston already, canceling out the rest of his deal to bet on himself that he's going to have a monster year and get an even better contract when he's 32 years old next season. Like, I think he's just become, and this isn't a shot at him. I know it's kind of sound like it is. It's not, but he's just looking out for himself right now, which is fine. Like, he's a player in the league. He is getting up there. He knows his time is probably short. He's got one more contract to work through, and that's fine. Like, if he wants to go to Houston, he feels like, I mean, obviously he didn't choose Houston, but if he asked to get
There's
traded
some
because
inner workings there that it sounds like he was working with, and I'm not speculating this because apparently this would be all tampering kind of stuff like that, but there are some inner workings that, he was talking to Joe Mixon a month
Right,
or
I
two
did see
ago
that.
and all that kind of stuff. So there's some fishy stuff behind the scenes that I think he was kind of leaning and knowing and had a hand in going where he was. Again, no idea. Never know, will know. But I'm just
But I mean, at
just
the same
pointing out,
time, he wanted to go to a contender, and oh, look at that, a contender
one of
is
the
the
best
one you
teams in
got
the AFC
traded
now.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
that is a fair point, but he thinks Houston can win a Super Bowl, and then after that, he's got one big year, and he just is betting on himself for that final contract, likely of his career. So I think at this point, he's just turned it on himself, which again is fine. He's a player in the league who's allowed to do that. I think you and I have expressed concerns with, and I would assume most of the media has, about the Bills' chances next year with their little bit of rebuild with their cap space that they don't really have to go out there and sign, certain players that they might need. So I don't know. For me, it's annoying to have people so negative about him trying to leave when, I mean, look at T. Higgins is doing the same thing. Justin Jefferson still hasn't signed with Minnesota, and now he's got Sam Darnold as a QB. Like
Debo Samuel
Debo
demanded a
Samuel, like it
trade.
happens all over the league. And instead of like saying thank you for the last 4 years of playing extremely well and doing really well for the Bills, trying your hardest, being the last person on the field, watching Kansas City celebrate once again, and just really giving it his all. Like, I don't think we ever saw him not try. He was a very tough competitor, and that's all you're looking for. Yeah, he's going to be a little bit of emotional. He's human, he's allowed to have feelings and attitude and whatever else he wants. But when he went out on the field, he gave 110%. And that's all you can ask for the last 4 years. And the Bills have been successful for 4 years. So just annoying to see less of a thank you for your time here. And like we said, both sides have agreed to move on. I mean, even if Diggs requested the trade, I think the Bills were also kind of over it, which again just doesn't really make sense with the extension, but it seems like they were also kind of just over dealing with him. And I mean, here we are. I mean, the Bills, a few places have mentioned it, and the Bills were willing to accept a $31 million dead cap hit and only receive a second to get him off the team. So clearly there's something toxic going on, whether it's behind the scenes, whatever. Like the team, both sides just needed to break it off. And it's unfortunate that he signed that massive extension. The Bills are dealing with this. Hopefully would have wished that he didn't, but I don't know, just weird that, like you mentioned, everyone's coming to the Bills defense and just kind of telling Diggs to get out of here when he did a really great job for this team and organization for the last 4 years.
Yeah, so I mean, you're not going to hear any negative comments towards me about Stefon Diggs in his 4 years here. I think your team is not where they were the last 4 years without him on it. And if you want to criticize the last few games of his tenure here, if you want to criticize the playoff situations, look at what happened around him. And the Kansas City 13 second game, Gabe Davis does not get that type of game if they're not double teaming Stefon Diggs. He is not. You're not seeing these performances by Dalton Kincaid and Khalil Shakir and all those other performances down the stretch where they went on that run to get to the playoffs without him taking that, being that central focus for the other team's defense. So we'll see who's able to step up. There's plenty of offseason to go over. I think Bills are always going to be competitive as long as Josh Allen is in the backfield. But I do think that they took a monster major step back, and they're going to have to rely on a rookie wide receiver to take over that number one role, where if Stefon Diggs was still here, he was going to be the one, so you didn't have to put so much pressure on the rookie. So we got plenty of offseason to talk about it. Let's move on to the Buffalo Sabres here. 2 games to talk about. And remember, we're recording late Saturday night because of Easter, so we did not have this game. And kind of wish that we would have just skipped it all together. Saturday versus Toronto, lost 3-0 at home. UPL 19 of 22 saves. Obviously, no goal scorers. Shots were 34-22 in favor of Buffalo. And then Tuesday, Washington, they won 6-2 on Jeff Skinner's 1,000th game. Gergensen scored, Peterka had 2, Dahlin, Tage, and Tuck were the goal scorers. UPL 23 of 25 saves. Shots were 35-25 in favor of Buffalo.
Yeah, these 2 games kind of just sum up their entire season, though. I mean, you look at something that we've talked about a lot is, like, if this was at the beginning of the year, I think you're pretty happy with these 2 games. You beat a competitive Washington team 6-2, and you looked really good, and you outshot Toronto. I thought they actually played okay against Toronto, not great by any means, but Toronto is a better team, and I think they hung with them okay. So I think, like, if this was the beginning of the year and you did a 1-for-1 split here and you won 6-2 against Washington and then lost 3-0 against a better team than you, but still looked okay, I think we're like, all right, signs of a decent thing coming, string some wins together, and that's fine with these 2 games. But that's the other problem that sums up this whole season is you win 1, you lose 1, you win 1, you lose 1. And it's just these stretches just show literally just a continuation of a pattern that has happened the entire season, where you have one good game and you look really good, and then the other game you didn't look so good and you win 1, you lose 1, and there's just a massive lack of consistency. And here we are again, looking kind of sad and outside of playoffs.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about the 2 games as a whole because they're pretty much meaningless. Good win, terrible loss. Whoop-de-doo. I'm going to talk about I'm going to talk about the overall. I'm going to talk about some points that kind of stood out to me that aren't really involved in the game. One's good and one's the right decision, I should say. It's bad for the team. Toronto fans took over on Saturday night, and I personally, speaking as a diehard Buffalo Sabres fan, my whole life went over that whole spiel how many times on this show now. I couldn't be more proud of the Buffalo Sabres fans for allowing Toronto to take over that building and make it sound like an away game. And I really wish that this was the game, the Saturday night game was the game that Terry Pegula was in attendance and not the Tuesday game, because he would have seen all blue and white in the entire arena. I know I was seeing tweets or X's or whatever you want to call them from people who were in the stands that felt, hey, this is an away game. And somebody actually ran into another Sabres fan and said, man, I didn't think I'd seen another one of you around the arena. I loved it, because if this organization wants fans to be in the seats, win. If you want fans to love this team, win. If you want your franchise to be taken seriously, win. That's all we're asking. Just win games, be competitive, make the playoffs. It's not that hard. We're not even asking you to be competitive in the playoffs. We're just asking you to break the drought and get in the playoffs. Not that hard. 13 years. So the only thing that's going to affect and make changes and make this organization take things seriously is if things start affecting their pocket, if you start affecting their money. So stop buying the seats. Stop going there. I know, what was it, a year or two ago, where there was they were averaging, like 8,000 fans? Do it again. Make it less. Stop signing up for season tickets. Guess what? When they're good again, there'll be season tickets to buy back. It's pointless to go buy seats and watch this team right now. I hate it. But I will end on a positive here, because that was my negative. This is my positive. What Buffalo Sabres did for Jeff Skinner and what they've done for Ryan Miller in the past and Rick Jeanneret in the past and Kyle Oposo in the past. When a big milestone happens, and I've given them credit in the past for it, I'm giving them credit here. They do an amazing job of recognizing the player for that type of accomplishment. When Ryan Miller had his jersey retired and his number retired up in the rafters, when RJ's initials in the microphone went up into the rafters, they do everything great. All the Jeff Skinner content leading up to this game, whether you like him or not, was great. And he has been very good for the Buffalo Sabres. I think he gets a negative rap because of the bad contract that they signed. It's not his fault. They offered him $9 million. If you were offered a $9 million contract, you would sign it too. Minus the Kruger years, he's been a great player. He's 18th all-time in scoring for this team. He's 7th since 2010-2011 season in all of NHL in even strength goals. He was a 0.79 points per game player, or points per game player. I'm sorry, it is points per game player under Granato. He's a 7 points or 0.76. 7.6 would be amazing. 0.76 under Housley. 0.31 with the man who will not be named. Yeah, he just tanked this. He would be like number 2 in even strength goals in that time period if he didn't have that dummy of a head coach. I think Jeff Skinner has been an elite goal scoring machine in the NHL. And I think he gets a bad rap because, one, he hasn't made playoffs, which one of how many players on the ice? 18? Yeah, you can't really blame the one. So 1,000 games, now make the playoffs. I can only put so much blame on him. But I think the other reason that he gets such a bad rap is the contract. And it's not his fault he signed it. That's why I didn't really blame Kyle Oposo, because he signed that deal too. Bad contracts, good players. So I will congratulate Jeff Skinner on 1,000 games. I thought all the content and everything that they did for him that day was unbelievable. And I think for all those that were like, why didn't they do all this for Kyle Oposo? Kyle Oposo isn't that funny. I'm sorry. Jeff Skinner's funny. He provides great content. That's why you get this kind of stuff. Between Two Stalls, hilarious. Wish they brought it back. But the 6.5 minute video that they did Between Two Stalls, absolutely amazing. I loved every single thing that they did. And once again, that is the one thing that this organization does right, is when those big milestone moments happen, they knock it out of the park.
Yeah, I think when his contract was signed, it looked bad. Nowadays, I feel like it really doesn't. With the cap kind of going up, I mean, if you told me that you were going to get the 7th even strength goal scorer in the entire league since, 2010, 2011 for $9 million, I feel like that's an okay
when you put it that way, yeah,
contract for a top 3, first line player. I think that seems fine. I mean, if you put it, like you just said, in those terms, if you're going to get a top 10 goal scorer since 2010, 2011 in the entire league, that's what it's going to cost you. I mean, honestly, it might even be a little bit of a discount at that point. So really the contract, I do think that is the only thing that people see as a negative toward him. But other than that, I mean, everything he's done for Buffalo, and like you said, he's hilarious and provides great content. And I'm really glad that they really went after his 1,000th game. And like you mentioned, did all the content for him and did all these things for him. And Oposo, like you said, very quiet leader and just much more of a reserved guy. So it's just not his style to do all of this stuff. So I'm happy that they did switch it for Skinner, who has the Between Two Stalls and has all this, funny content, and is just a really great time. And I think you had him at your Christmas party, I believe.
I did.
So, I mean, I'm glad that they kind of switched it and just didn't do a nice little, subtle tribute to him and make it kind of quiet. I'm glad they really played it up and made it a big deal for him and just more content based, because that's just who Skinner is. And like you said, the Sabres did a really, really nice job, and all the giveaways and the giant heads of him and everything, like everything they did for it was really great. And like you said, I'm happy for him and for his big night that they won 6-2. Like you said, annoyed that Pagula was in the building for that one. And I'm sure lots and lots of people showed up with all the giveaways for that and Dingus Day and everything and the 1000th game. So I'm sure the arena looked good and they won and had fun. So Pagula probably saw that and was like, all right, this team's doing great. Nothing to change. Everything is going well. The stadium's full and everyone's happy, which is the exact opposite of what is going on. So kind of annoying with that part, but I'm happy for Skinner that they won that game. Just annoyed that Pagula had to show up and got to witness something nice that the Sabres did, because they haven't been doing much of that all season or 13 years. 13.
Yeah, Brandon Bean, trade Stefon Diggs on Easter next time, because he would have been in attendance for that one. But before we dive into my fun Bills segment here, which I'm going to try to stump Phil. Let's get into our first sponsor read, Tap That Tap Room. Phil, take it away.
Our first ever sponsor is Tap That Tap Room at 363 Delaware Street in Tonawanda, New York. They are Buffalo's first women-owned self-pour bar, which what that means is you grab a glass, you pay ahead of time, and you go up and you pay by the ounce. You have as little or as much as you want of the 30 consistently rotating taps. They offer a variety of beer, cider, sour, seltzers, oh my gosh, I already said that, and malt beverages.
Yeah, they have a very, very busy weekend coming up. Friday. Bandits Watch Party starts at 9 p.m. There will be a ticket giveaway, but flash forward one day to Saturday. It is their first anniversary party. It runs 12 to 12, 2 p.m. They got live music from Hal Yeah, H-A-L, yeah. 3 p.m. Tap Attack with Down East Cider House. 7 p.m. music by Michael Bly. They got 10% off all appetizers all day long. Happy hour specials on the beer wall all day long. They got special anniversary gifts for the first 200 people through the door and a giveaway to win beer for a year. Absolutely jam-packed weekend. You can't miss it. If you want to go for one day, both days, it's going to be a fun time regardless of when you go, but congratulations to Tap That Tap Room on one amazing year.
PK, I believe, hit pretty much every aspect of that, but if you want more information or to look at their other events, they have them posted on their Facebook, Instagram, and their website.
So, Phil, I've been teasing this for a while, and I know that you do not handle being on the spot and pressure situations on the show very well. And I absolutely love it, because I'm usually the one that's off the rails. I'm usually the one that goes on rants. I'm usually the one that doesn't make any sense. So to put you in this type of position makes me feel good. So, Phil, and everybody listening at home, because you can play along right with Phil, it's called, and it's time for the first installment of Real Bill, Fake Bill, Draft Edition. I've got myself thinking, man, there's been a lot of draft picks in the franchise's history, and I only went back to 2002, so only worry about that. But each episode from now until the draft starts on April 25th, we will have a segment to see if Phil can guess, is it a real Buffalo Bill draft pick, or is it a fake bill that I made up? And yes, I didn't really make these guys up. I really did Google and research some people. So they're more of an average Joe, but they're a fake bill. You can play along at home. You will get 1 point correct if you guess if they are real or fake correctly. You get a bonus point if you can tell me what year, what position, or what the other career of the person is. I will keep score, and we'll see how he does this month. So, Phil, are you ready for a Real Bill, Fake Bill Draft Edition?
I probably couldn't even tell you the first 7 rounds of draft picks in the last 3 years. So the fact that we're going a 22-year span of draft picks that I have likely never heard of in my entire life. No, not ready, but let's do it.
I know you still can't see, but I'm dancing over here because I'm so excited. Okay, here we go.
It's not
the first name of Real Bill, Fake Bill Draft Edition. Mark Asper.
See, now the question is, psychologically, would you start with a real or a fake? That's the question.
He's playing the game within the game.
Because I have never heard that name in my life, and I'm sure I have never heard of any of these names. So I'm gonna start off with oh boy, a real Bill. Start real.
Ding, ding, ding. Phil is 1 for 1. 2012 6th round draft pick, 178th overall. He was a guard from Oregon.
Yes.
Congratulations. I'm going to do 5 of these per show. So
oh my gosh.
We'll keep it up.
Okay.
Miserable. Phil, are you ready for the second one? Real Bill or fake Bill?
Yes.
We will go Chris Gregg.
Oh, Greg. I'm gonna go. Oh man, I'm gonna go real again.
Ding, ding, ding. Phil is 2 for 2. Yes, 2013 7th rounder, 222nd overall. He was a tight end from Arkansas.
That's a fun name.
Chris Gregg.
Oh, Greg.
Okay, third name here. Terrence Pennington.
I feel like I'm eating chicken wings all over again.
At least here you get some water if you got it on the side here.
That's true. What a rookie mistake. Should have just drank some water. Would have been fine. Pennington sounds too English. Too soccer player. Christian Wade. You will forever be missed, and I wish you would have gotten in a game or two. But I'm gonna go fake Bill. Dang it.
He was 2006 7th round pick, 216th overall. He was a tackle from New Mexico.
Oh my gosh, I knew he wasn't. No, that is still. Never mind.
Remember Chad Pennington, man?
I do.
Or quarterback for Jets, yeah.
But
I don't know if they're related. I'm just throwing out a name.
I feel like he looked British.
Okay, Phil, we got 2 more here.
Okay.
You're sitting at 2 correct, 1 incorrect.
All right.
We will go Zachary Taylor.
See, that sounds too football and too basic to not be real. But I don't know. Is that your mix up? That's the thing. I could also see you being the wild card that you just go 5 straight real Bills to start it off. Zachary.
I do have like
Taylor.
5 shows to go through.
That's just so many names that I'm never gonna know. I'm gonna go real, even though I think it's fake.
Incorrect. Phil, obviously you didn't pay attention in history class. He was our 12th U.S. president from 1849 to 1850.
Yeah, I would also fail miserably with anything president related.
Yeah, I was like, I wonder if he knows his presidents, because there are some people that can name all of the presidents. What are there, like 46 or something? Like that? Yeah, Zachary Taylor, boring name, and he only was on term for like a year because I think he took over for somebody that died. So, yeah, good for him. Phil,
we'll add it to
you're sitting at 2 and 2. You're sitting at 2 and 2. You're either going to be 40% on the day or 60%. So, lot riding on this failing. Last name. So. Last name here. Well, we'll say anything above the majority is passing for me, because that's how I got through high school and college. Last name here for all the marbles for this episode of Real Bill, Fake Bill. Hopefully you're having fun at home. Robert Yates.
Phil is not. Did they have a special grading system for you, or just over 50%? They were like, give it to him.
Oh, they want to be gone. Yeah.
They were.
I don't even know if I have a diploma. I got a box, but I never opened it.
Everyone else is 65% and over. They were like, PK, if it's over 51, just.
If he's over 50, he's good.
He's fine. Just let
That's
it
all
go.
you can do the math on.
We're gonna go real.
You went 2 for 3 on the day, Phil. Robert Yates is the inventor of the can opener. Come on, man.
Right. I should have known. Who uses a can opener now? Wait, are we talking manual or
manual? Yeah.
Okay. I still use a can opener. Never mind. I mean, it's rare, but I still use one. I was thinking electric. I feel like can openers in general pretty phased out at this point. We got a lot of pull tabs in life.
Yeah, the tabs,
some
game changers.
Yeah, there's still some.
SpaghettiOs refuses to do the tabs.
I feel like a lot of soups are still like your condensed soups. I feel like they're your tuna. If you're a tuna person, there's still some beans. I made beans the other day. not just beans, but I added beans to a recipe. I had to use the can opener, and that was this past week. So I did recently use a can opener. I should have known. I should have known.
No, you can thank
That's my
Mr.
bad.
Yates for that one. But Phil, you went 2 of 5 on this episode of Real Bill, Fake Bill. Don't forget to come back on Monday's episode where Phil will try to add to his total and get back over 500. We have 4 more episodes before the draft starts. So 4 more episodes of trying to stump Phil on Real Bill, Fake Bill.
Throw this back at you for Bandits draft.
Bring it. We got a long off season, man. Got a long ways to
the Bandits.
Very true. Next September. So I better start studying right now. I'm not going to.
You're just going to start learning every name they've ever drafted.
Every name that's ever been done. Okay, let's move on to our final segment here. Buffalo Bandits. My God, Phil. I'm a real bandit, fake bandit. That would be a fake bandit. Bandits versus Colorado Mammoth, Friday, 9 p.m. in the quote-unquote Loud House. Buffalo's coming in 8-7. Colorado's sitting at 5-6. There were some moves made, and based on the injury report from last week, I feel like these moves were kind of warranted because, I mean, we tweeted out that, or X'd out, I still don't know how to name it, Phil, that, you got Frank Brown and Justin Robinson who were questionable last week. You got Justin Martin, who was doubtful. All 3 of those players are working their way back. Shanahan's sitting on the holdout list. They just released Christian Watts. I know, moment of silence for Phil here because that one really hurt him. Sam LaRue went to the active roster, and then they put down Dalton Sulver and Emerson Clark to the practice squad. They both were activated back up, so they're currently on the active roster, but both of them couldn't go down. So at the moment, you're 2 spots short if, Shanahan comes back and Martin comes back, Justin Robinson comes back and Brown comes back. You're still 2 spots short. So I'm assuming that there could be another move made, or Shanahan just stays on the holdout list and one of these injury guys just doesn't come back. Who knows? But this is another thing we've been talking about for how many years now, is this roster is just so jam-packed. Eventually there was going to be moves made and players either cut or, finagling of the different list. And Christian Watts was the victim of the roster crunch, and it definitely stinks because I did become a fan of him. I liked his size. I liked his potential that we saw in those 2 games, but maybe injuries pile up. They call him back. Maybe in training camp, they call him back. I don't think we have seen the last of Christian Watts in the NLL, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, we can kind of try to sprint through. I know we've talked a lot about this off podcast, and I think there's kind of a lot going on here. So Shanahan, to me personally, I think he's probably going to sit on the holdout the rest of the year. Unless obviously there's some kind of goalie injury, then obviously he would be brought back. But to me, I think that is a roster crunch move that they made. I think Orleman played better than him, or at least the Bandits thought. I think you and I kind of liked what Orleman did in his only start of the season. Not that Shanahan performed badly. I think the defense in front of him and the, starting the game twice with 5-on-3 penalties did not help him at all. But I thought Orleman did play well. And I think to the Bandits, it seems like Orleman is just the number 2 right now. Shanahan's the number 3, and, they still need Shanahan for the future. So I think Shanahan seems like he might have agreed to go on the holdout. This is all speculation. We have no idea what actually happened, but to me, I could see it being a Doug Buchan kind of situation where Shanahan stays on the holdout the rest of the year because they have a extreme roster crunch, especially with the players getting healthy, which is the good aspect of all of this happening, is that the team is getting healthier, which is why you're having this roster crunch. So that is one positive of it. But you and I were agreeing and confused about the LaRue Sulver kind of switch up they also made. LaRue, we both really like, but more as a future player and not in a situation where they absolutely need to win games right now. We thought he had a little bit of a rough game last week, and he's still transitioning to defense from offense. And I think he's still going to take some time to really adapt to that role. I think he's going to be okay in the future. And but I think right now, I think Sulver is the more seasoned transition defender. And we've seen him do really well when simply blanket covering a player. And I think you and I both like what Sulver brings to the defense right now more than what LaRue does. So I think that move is interesting, but at the same time, who knows with healthy scratches and send ups and, practice squad to active roster, who's actually going to be active on game day. All of it could change. It doesn't mean too much. I mean, obviously, Sulver can still play over LaRue. It's still an option and a possibility, but we thought it was interesting seeing LaRue kind of take his active roster spot. I don't think you and I believe LaRue is really ready on defense to be full-time active, even though I do think he still has a bright future, and I think he just needs maybe one more offseason to really make that transition to defense.
Yeah, I mean, going
Sorry,
into the season, I thought he was going to be battling Christian Watts for that extra 7th, 8th forward spot, and it seems like nobody won it because Watts is out the door and LaRue is then back on defense. So a lot can change in the NLL, but I agree. I think personally, I've been fighting for Silver all season long. I think he is that Justin Martin back there type player where he's not going to put up the flashy stats. He's not going to get the loose balls to cause turnovers and stuff like that, but he's that lockdown defender. And I really liked his performance in Panther City, and to find out, hey, you got scratched for Philly, really, really mind boggling to me. But I've been mind boggled by a lot of decisions they've made in the 3 years covering this team. And there's a reason I'm sitting here and they're there, but doesn't mean I'm not right sometimes. So there you go. But before we dive into the breakdown here, let's go over our second sponsor, Mr. Sizzles. Phil, take it away.
Our second sponsor is Mr. Sizzles at 346 Connecticut Street in Buffalo, New York. They will be opening 2 more locations. We are not sure when, but when they do open, one will be in Clarence and the other will be in Hamburg. They are currently open 7 days a week, 11 to 11, with a new brunch menu on Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3.
So I know everybody that listens to the show is already following Mr. Sizzles, and if you're not, you're quickly pausing this episode and going to follow them on all their social media sites right now, or just look them up on MrSizzles.com. But recently, I think it was just the other day, maybe Wednesday or Tuesday, they sent out a picture. And Phil, I have not been so hungry in my entire life. They looked absolutely delicious. It was the loaded fries. It's got cheese sauce, bacon, sour cream, and chives. Phil, the description I just gave does not give what I saw justice because they looked absolutely so delicious. I honestly, and this is not me saying this because we've been saying it for how long, that we're only going to have sponsors on the show that we actually fully believe in and support. I almost went home early that day from work to go get these. Like, I wasn't even going to go home. I was just going to go right to Mr. Sizzles and order these because they looked really, really delicious. The picture, I don't know if you saw it, but I know everybody else that's listening to this podcast right now saw it. They're delicious. They look delicious. I haven't ordered them yet, but next time I'm there, it's going to be in my cart and I'm going to stuff my face in it.
Yeah, I was trying to quickly pull up the picture. I failed. I'm still going to try because you already said my next line. So I'm just gonna, we're out there. They are. I did it.
Don't
it
they
is
look
their
good?
most recent post on Facebook, and they look incredible. You are correct. Would eat and wish they were in front of us right now. You can find that item and more of their menu items and more information about Mr. Sizzles on their Facebook, as PK mentioned. Go follow them, or you can check them out at MrSizzles.com.
So let's dive into the game ahead that is in almost 25 hours from when we're recording right now. Buffalo coming in first in the league. Congrats, Phil. You did it. They're leading the goal team or the league in scoring right now. So one of your bold predictions is hitting at 13.07. Colorado is down in 14th. Yeah, that's one from dead last at 10.64. Buffalo's goals against, though, not good. 12.6, 12th in the league. Colorado's coming in at 12.22, which is 10th.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many times we have to say this in a row, but possibly, and this is all I'm going to say about it, a get-right game for the defense. Could be. This could be the one. We have said it for
Eventually you'll be right.
A lot of weeks now. Eventually we will be right. I still believe, and I will probably believe until the end of the season and maybe even into playoffs, that at some point they will flip that switch and they will be incredible again, like we saw last year. Last game was not it, even though they did hold the team to less than 13 goals, which is a sad benchmark for the season, but it's still a benchmark for now. So, I mean, yay for that, but they didn't play overall very well. So this could be that get right game. We'll see.
eventually when I have like this decked out office, which isn't fully decked out, like I've seen your screen, you got jerseys in the back. Yours looks a lot more, Bandits and Bills and, Buffalo S than mine. I'm going to get a bench and I'm going to have markers on the ground. So when we move the benchmark, I can actually move it. So make sure you remember that and write that down. I might write it down.
You want what is it the stick game with the Frisbee where you have to move the score up and down on it? Or you have to like watch your score?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Your game with where you throw the Frisbee at the bottle and it's on the stick.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you move your score up and down on it?
Yep.
Yeah, that's you got to get like a slider like that, like a benchmark slider that just goes
I'll
up
build
and down.
it.
There you go.
I'm going to write it down now. Slider
on
thing.
bench.
Slider on bench thing. Okay, so good Lord. Okay, Phil, Buffalo was 1-3 versus Colorado in the 21-22 season that included a 1-2 playoffs. Last year, they went 2-2 against Colorado, 2-1 in the playoffs. This year, they're 1-0. The last 3 years, they're 4-5. Stop playing Colorado. It's insane the amount of times you're playing this team, and I think next year they're probably going to play them twice as well because of this rivalry kind of thing. But they've already faced each other once, like I said. Buffalo, January 6, 2024, in Bandit Land. Buffalo won 12-8. They started the game with 6 straight and finished the first half 7-1. Like I said, they finished it off 12-8. But Phil, this is not a team that you are going to be unfamiliar with, so we can kind of fly through the players. But, the common theme, Eli McLaughlin, Zed Williams, got to contain those 2 players. And then Connor Robinson's kind of having an off year. And then, you got the normal players on the back end. But Josh Byrne really lit it up in the first game. Smith, obviously, and Frazier had a nice 4-point game. But it'll be very interesting to see how this offense looks versus a goaltender that has given them troubles in the past.
Yeah, that's what concerns me about this game. You look at the numbers, especially the goals for, even the goals against, like both for Colorado. Colorado's just having a terrible year. Overall, their stats are not good. Their record is not good. I think Bandits fans especially need to be reminded that this could be what your team looks like for a team that just won a championship and then went back to a championship. And now look at them. They are outside the playoffs and look terrible. So be happy that the Bandits are over 500 and still looking like a playoff team. Because you could be Colorado. But I think the thing that still concerns me about this team in this game, despite even the 12-8 pretty solid victory early in the year, is that Colorado's given Buffalo a lot of problems in recent years. And then even last week, they beat Rochester 13-7. Yes, the Rush and Rock handled them pretty easily the 2 weeks before that. But then before that, they won 18-10 against the Riptide. They lost by 2 to the Wolves and lost by 1 to Panther City. So even though their record looks bad, their stats look bad, this is still a team that has given Buffalo some problems, and a team that, especially in Colorado, would absolutely love to go all out and just put a big L on Buffalo and hopefully hurt their playoff chances. Like, a team like this is very dangerous because they are not playing for playoffs, so they have nothing to lose in this game. So they will probably be going all out just to hurt your rival, your nemesis, and like I said, try to give them a loss and hurt Buffalo's chances of making playoffs. So despite all of their stats and whatnot, I really don't think this is going to be as cut and dry and easy of a game as it might seem on paper. I think Colorado is really going to try their best to make it very difficult on Buffalo in this game.
Yeah, they're going to be looking to play spoiler, but we'll go over the players here. For the forwards, it's the common names. You know all these because, like I said, how many times you faced this team. Tyson Gibson, Zed Williams, Eli McLaughlin, and Connor Robinson are the big 4. But to me, the one player to keep an eye on is Connor Kelly. Number 40, he's been on the IR. He's only played in 11 games this year. He was questionable in week 17. Remember, they were off. Colorado was off last week. So I'm leaning more towards Connor Kelly being available in this game. If he is, 11 games, 25 goals, 21 assists, 46 points in the first go around. He played 3 goals, 1 assist, 4 points, 9 shots on net the first time they faced him. He's a very good player, and I think Colorado's offense is much better when you have another goal-scoring threat on the right side, because you got Eli McLaughlin, who's got 36 goals, 39 points, 75 assists. You got Zed Williams, who's got 21 goals. Tyson Gibson's got 18. But when you got a guy like Connor Kelly, who is lethal, he's got 98 shots in just those 11 games. He's 2-6-8 now on the power play. He is one player that I'm going to be personally keeping an eye on to see if they make any transaction moves and see what the injury report looks like ahead of this game. Because if Connor Kelly is in, this offense just got that much more dangerous on an offense that has had Buffalo's number in the past.
Yeah, he is fourth on their team in shots on goal, but if for just 11 games, he is only 2 shots off of Robinson and 7 shots off of Zed Williams, who have played 3 games and 2 games more than him. So he has become a major focal point of that offense in just his 11 games. I know 11 still a lot, but they've played 14, so he's missed 3. And like you said, just been a little bit banged up in general. It takes a little bit of time to come back from these things. So I think he is going to be someone you have to key in on. And like you just mentioned, kind of just not forget. I think that's the big thing, is like, he's not the biggest name, so he's not the one that is really out there to keep an eye on, but I know the Bandits obviously know to keep an eye on him. But as far as fans go, like if you see this name pop up a few times throughout the game, he is really good, and he's arguably one of their best players on the team, and he's second in on their team in goals scored. So absolutely one to keep an eye on. Like you mentioned, a lot of these names we know really, really well, especially someone like Zed Williams and McLaughlin, and you know all these players, but Kelly's one that you might not. So really good call out to keep an eye on him.
Yeah, so for the transition to defense, once again, you just summed it up. We know a lot of these players. Robert Hope, Jordan Gillies, Tim Edwards is their faceoff man. He was one that I was keeping an eye on at trade deadline to see if, I know Buffalo brought in Connor Farrell, but Tim Edwards, he was a guy that I was kind of interested in because he could take faceoffs and he plays defense. He's got 11 caused turnovers in the year, 81 loose balls, 54% from the faceoff dot. Brett Craig's having a breakout year, 16 points, 12 caused turnovers. Warren Jeffries back there, Jalen Chaster, Joey Capito. So there are a bunch of players back there. And once again, Colorado and Buffalo have faced each other so often these last 3 years. There's nothing these two teams haven't seen. So there's only so much that we can bring out. But this is a team, and we can even toss in Dylan Ward here so we can tie it all together. 4-8, 12.8, 1-8 goals against, and a 76 save percentage. So those numbers aren't great. Colorado's having a down year, but we have seen what this defense and what Dylan Ward can do to this offense. I think you just need to avoid that big run of goalless droughts that Buffalo has been known for this year. If you can get to Dylan Ward early, shake his confidence, and build up that lead, you're going to kill any momentum that Colorado could have going into this game. And I think that's a big reason why they won in the game in January, because they went up 7-1. If you can do the same thing, I think you're walking out of the Loud House victorious.
Yeah, I mentioned it in a comment on Facebook that despite the kind of shortcomings of the defense pretty much this entire season, and especially last game, but in general, they've just been struggling. But this year, like last year, it was all the defense leading the team and really getting them to where they got until the offense got healthy and caught up in the playoffs. And this year, it's the offense that is absolutely carrying this team. As you mentioned, number 1 in goals for per game with a incredible 1307. So to be averaging 13 goals a game is just really, really good. So that's the biggest thing to me. I know that their offense can give the Bandits some fits for sure. And hopefully this is a game for a team that's averaging under 11 goals a game. This is one that the Bandits can hopefully lock down and maybe keep them to single digits. It would be great to see, but I think it's all about the offense still. And I think pretty much every game is going to be about the offense. If they play like they can, because they're just that talented, especially when you have 2 of the, top point getters in the entire NLL on your team, seems to help quite a bit. And the secondary scoring is also really good. So as long as the offense does not, like you just mentioned, get in those huge droughts where they can struggle and allow a team like Colorado to stay in it and gain confidence in a game like this, I think they'll be fine. If they continue to put in a consistent amount of goals and just throughout the entire game, obviously a lot of goals helps, but it just, that idea of killing runs, I think is the big part of the goal droughts that they go through. If you go 25 minutes without scoring, it's not only that, but if the other team is able to get 3, 4, 5 goals in that span, it allows them to catch up and go on that run. But if they if you get a big lead and a huge spurt, if you get, a 5-goal run yourself, and then all of a sudden they get 2 and then you get 1 and they get 3 and you get 1, it's just about killing those really big droughts, or after you have a lead, and just making sure that any runs they go on are killed really quickly. And then that's pretty much just a pretty great blueprint to win. But it's something with the offense has struggled with a bit here and there, but as long as the offense can bring it, Dylan Ward and their defense seems to be struggling this year, as is, like you mentioned, their entire team.
So Phil, for the 10th time since we've been covering the Buffalo Bandits, what is your prediction for Buffalo v Colorado?
I'm going, I think I might have done this last week. I don't know. I'm going 15-9 though.
That's exactly what you picked last week.
Yeah, I thought so. I still want that 9 from the defense. I think they can do it. I also just really, really want it. And this offense is just incredible. And I think that, I know Colorado is going to make it really, really tough, because they do not like Buffalo. And I'm sure they would love to play spoiler with nothing to lose in a game like this. But I think the Buffalo offense is just going to continue having fun like they have all year against a struggling Dylan Ward and Colorado defense. And then they're just going to light it up once again.
So I did have the 9, but then I talked myself in to back to double digits with my talk about Connor Kelly. So I have Buffalo winning 12-10. I think it'll be a more low scoring game. And every time I do that, it's more of a high scoring game. So take the over, boys and girls. Take the over in this game.
Maybe your low score will feed into my high score.
That's probably the biggest discrepancy we've had all season in our predictions. One. So yeah. Well, one of us is bound to hit, and then it's going to hit right in the middle. So let's go over our milestones, since we're right at an hour mark. And usually when we get to the hour mark, I start flubbing words.
We're at the 1 minute mark right now.
This is going to go great. The fastest milestone minute, still looking for a sponsor for this segment. All
Maybe
those possible milestones. It's one of these days, Phil. One of these days. You only got 2 more episodes, and then the playoffs, hopefully, playoffs start. All these milestones can be found on X at Buffalo Sports Co. We post them leading up to the game each week. So if you miss one and you, for some reason, don't want to listen back to this beautiful voice, you can check them out there. There's a lot of them, so buckle up. Here we go. Steve Perillo is 2 caused turnovers away from tying Brody Merrill for 3rd place in NLL history. He averages 1.2 a game. Chase Frazier is 1 point away from 200 for his career. He averages 2.86 a game. Dane Smith is 10 shots away from 1,700 for his career. He averages 9.6 a game. Chris Cloutier is 1 goal away from setting a new career high. He's also 3 assists from setting a new career high and 3 points away from setting a new career high. Ian McKay is 1 caused turnover away from setting a new career high. Dane Smith is 1 caused turnover away from setting a new career high. Nick Weiss is 2 caused turnovers away from setting a new career high. Chase Frazier is 3 goals away from tying Roger Weiss for 9th place in Buffalo Bandits history. He averages 1.62 a game. Now comes all the words. Josh Byrne is 1 goal away from tying Sean Williams for 8th place in a single Buffalo Bandits season with 46 set in 2001. He is 4 away from tying John Tavares for 6th place in Buffalo Bandits season with 49 set in 2003 and 2004. Josh Byrne is 2 assists away from tying Dane Smith for 5th place in a Bandits season with 68 set in 2015 and 2018. And he's 4 away from tying, yet again, Dane Smith for 4th place in a Bandits season with 70 set in 2019. Josh Byrne is 2 points away from tying Ryan Benesh for 5th place in a Bandits season with 113 set in 2015. He's 4 away from tying John Tavares for 4th with 115 set in 2001. He is 5 away from tying Tom Schreiber, Mark Matthews, Lyle Thompson, and John Grant Jr. for 9th place in a single NLL season with 116. He's 7 away from tying Sean Evans for 8th in an NLL season with 118, and he's 8 away from tying Ryan Lee for 7th in an NLL season with 119. 2 more to go. Dane Smith is 4 points away from tying Ryan Benesh for 5th place in the Buffalo Bandits season with 2015 with 113 points. He is 6 away from tying John Tavares for 4th place in the Buffalo Bandits season, set in 2001 with 115. Now, these are going to sound very familiar. He's 7 away from tying Tom Schreiber, Mark Matthews, Lyle Thompson, John Grant Jr. for 9th place in an NLL season with 116. He's 9 away from tying Sean Evans for 8th in an NLL season with 118. And he's 10 away from tying Ryan Lee for 7th in an NLL season 119. Dane Smith, watch. He is averaging 5.6 assists a year. He's on pace for 100.8 assists. He's 2 away from almost made it, Phil. He's 2 away from passing Ryan Lee for 3rd place in an NLL season. He's 10 assists away from tying himself for 2nd in a Bandit season and NLL history with 94. God, Josh Byrne and Dane Smith are having an incredible, incredible year. Just sit by and watch their greatness.
Yeah, I was going to ask you with 3 games to go, and I posted the list because the NLL posted the list of the top 5 out there right now. It's really a big 3. I know Connor Fields is still a game in hand, the game behind for where he is. He is 9.
He's slowed down.
He's 11 points behind third place with 1 game in hand. I mean, we know he can have a monster game, so it is possible that he catches up. But of the big 3, do you think any of them truly have a shot with 3 games left to touch the single season record, or do you think that's pretty safe this year?
If you were to ask me 2 weeks ago, I would have said no. But after seeing what Josh Byrne and Dane Smith just did against Philly, and they're facing 3 teams who are, well, one of them's fighting for a playoff spot, but the other 2 are kind of just fighting it out for the bottom of the barrel. I'm going to say, yes, there's a legit shot for all 3, Jeff Teat, Dane Smith, and Josh Byrne, to get very close to the record. I don't know if they can break it. I had Jeff Teat breaking it, and that might not work out, but I do think all 3 can get at least over 130 points on the season.
Yeah, which is just crazy.
It's stupid.
They continue to push the envelope of what NLL can really do. And I mean, to have 3 players up near a single season record is insane. I mean, 1 is insane, but to have 3 all kind of pushing for it toward the end and 2 on the same team is just pretty mind-blowing, and really great to see Dane Smith back up over the assists as the game went on. Last game, I did find myself getting a little bit upset when he would score a goal, and I was like, will you pass the ball, sir? You need assists. And then he did fine. He did great. He got a lot of goals, and he added a lot of assists to pad that number a little bit more and make him on pace for 100 again. So great to see that he did listen in the second half, and I appreciate that.
I just like that you were complaining all year long that he's not scoring, and then towards the end of the season, you're complaining that he is scoring.
Calm it down. Well, I mean, just score after you get 7 assists in the game. Then you can put up the 5 goal. Don't do it.
Get everybody else involved, you selfish player.
And
God,
then put in
Dane
5
Smith.
yourself.
If there's one thing Dane Smith's known for, it's being selfish.
Absolutely. Never seen a more selfish.
Okay, last segment. I know we're going a little bit long because we had 4 segments in this show, but NLL Outlook: Toronto, San Diego, Albany clinch spots. They're all in the playoffs for sure. The seeding's just got to work out. Halifax can make it and clinch with a win and a loss by Saskatchewan, Calgary, and Rochester. Georgia can Georgia can clinch it with a win or a loss by Rochester, Saskatchewan, Calgary, and Vancouver. Buffalo has no option. With a win, they cannot clinch. With losses, they cannot clinch. They're going to have to wait until next week. Just get the win in this one. But we'll go over the matchups. Some pretty big ones in this one. A lot of teams can either really help their cause or just completely imploded. Saskatchewan versus Calgary Friday at 9 p.m. Panther City heads to San Diego Friday at 10 p.m. Halifax is in Vancouver Friday at 10 p.m. And then the Saturday games start. New York versus Rochester, major playoff implications in that one, Saturday at 7. Toronto versus Albany, possibly the game of the week, Saturday at 7 p.m. Las Vegas is going to Georgia, Saturday at 7:30. The home and home concludes Calgary in Saskatchewan Saturday at 9 p.m. And then another rare Sunday game, Philly and Panther City, 4 p.m.
I'm surprised that Sunday at 4 isn't in Philly, given their weird scheduling for home games. So I do enjoy going through these, especially now with playoff implications and kind of picking how you want. So I'm going to do it again. Saskatchewan and Calgary, I assume we would want to split a 1-1 for both of them, beat each other up. Sounds great. San Diego, we want over Panther City. That is pretty simple. San Diego's long gone. Panther City's right on your butt. So go San Diego. Halifax and Vancouver. For once, I can tell you to cheer for not Halifax, which is exciting for me. So congratulations to them. New York, Rochester. That is, I assume you want Rochester because you have the games on them?
Yes.
Okay. Go Rochester. Toronto, Albany. Like you said, fun game to watch, but in general,
really doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter for us. Georgia and Vegas, we want Vegas. So that is obviously exciting. So that's another one that we don't have to worry about cheering for the wrong team, so that's good. And then the split, and then again, you want Philly over Panther State. So
Very
for the
easy
most part,
week.
we really don't have any major conflicting ones this week. I mean, if everything goes the Bandits' way, that would be wild. Highly doubt it will, because I really fully expect Halifax and Georgia to take care of their business, and Philly over, or Panther City over Philly. I don't see that one going the other way either. But I mean, if everything kind of fell into place, that would be great and pretty incredible. Overall, could be just a really, like you said, just a lot of important games going on. I know Toronto and Albany doesn't matter to the Bandits, but it does kind of matter to their own seeding, and kind of in a weird way matters to the Bandits, depending on where the Bandits end up finishing with playoffs and who they
That
could
could be your
end up
first round
facing and
opponent.
whatnot
Yep.
down the line. But I mean, it's kind of fun to see a pretty cut and dry, straightforward, insane weekend of lacrosse where who you're choosing to root for is pretty self-explanatory and obvious. I feel like we haven't had that in a long time. There's been a lot of, do you want this team over this team for this reason? And this one seems, for the most part, pretty cut and dry. So go watch a lot of lacrosse, cheer for the correct team, and go Bandits.
Yeah, the one disadvantage of rooting for all those teams, I would really stink in my BSC picks. And
Yes.
just a quick note, you're listening and looking at the week 19 Lax Class Who You Got champion. So if you do listen to that podcast, definitely go follow them and listen to them. For some reason you're not going to, or if you haven't in the past, you'll hear my voice on it, and I get a little 15 seconds of fame on that podcast. But I definitely love them because they talk straight NLL. They have a guest each week. It's great content, and your boy here won week 19. Yes, he did get a lot of help. Yes, there were only 3 games to pick from, and yes, I did get the tiebreaker right, and yes, I did get help from the Wheel of Doom, but I won it, and I won it fair and square, and my prize package is coming in the mail. I don't know what it is, but thanks to Jake Elliott and Pat Gregoire for sending me the care package, and I will have whatever it is whenever it comes on the podcast. And thank you again. So you're looking at a champion here, Phil. How's it feel?
Feels great to be on a show with the
Associated.
champion. You know, I feel like you've just elevated the podcast that much higher. So
I do my best.
Yeah, I appreciate you out there wheeling, dealing, and grinding to bring this podcast to a new level. So I appreciate it, and congratulations.
My prize is a sprained wrist. Yippee doo.
Yep.
Yippee doo.
And hopefully a bidet. Maybe that'll be the prize.
Hopefully a bidet. Yes, I forgot about that. Send me your unused bidets. Send them to me.
Please.
I will DM us. I need help here. I have a broken wing and I don't want to wipe with this hand. So, Phil, is there anything else with this episode, or should I shut it down because it's about to get really weird because we're at like an hour and 14 minutes of recording?
Yeah, it's been a loose
show
episode the whole time, but yeah, you can shut it down.
Yeah, you don't come here for the sports takes. You come here for how to wipe your butt takes. So thank you all for listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Thank you for Tap That Tap Room and Mr. Sizzle for some reason sponsoring this show. On the next show, we got Bandits versus Mammoth. We got any more shocking Bills trades. We got 2 Sabres games because they only got 6 more left on the schedule, thank God. And then week 2 or episode 2 of Real Bill, Fake Bill with Phil. There you go. Rhymed. Whoop-de-doo. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com. buffalosportscollective.com. Sound it out better. Again, over an hour, I start making up words. Phil's article dropped on Tuesday, so read that one. Bandits versus Philly, and then my power rankings dropped on Thursday for the week 19. Only 2 more weeks of that. Leave us a review on Apple and Spotify if you will, and until next time, bye-bye.